Alright, what's going on, guys? So, I decided to do like an update video on my PowerA Spectra Enhanced review video that I did like 4 months ago. And I've always wanted to like do like a comparison video with my stock Xbox One controller that I had for 5 years. And this is actually my second replacement. I will eventually talk about what happened to like my very first controller when I got it with the Xbox One console. But yeah, I decided to do this video right after like I spent more time with the PowerA Spectra. This has been my main controller for the longest time lately, but I still kind of come back to my stock controller just for like this video, and just because like the wireless capabilities, and just because I've used this thing for 5 years, so I have a lot of like sentimental value to it, I guess. But yeah. So for this video, I'm going to do like a compare and contrast between the two controllers. I'm going to talk about like its durability and the wear and tear throughout like the years and months that I've used both of these controllers. And I guess I'll put like my overall recommendation of which controller is the better one for your purchasing needs. Alright, so let's get to it. So without a doubt, the PowerA Spectra and the stock controller Xbox One, it looks very, very identical towards each other. I feel like, if you're not really like a big Xbox gamer, or you don't really use the controllers a lot, you probably wouldn't be able to notice a difference. But yeah, very similar towards each other. And I really do love how PowerA kind of decided to, just make their controller feel more similar to the Xbox One stock controller from Microsoft, because I do love the ergonomics on this thing for sure. So the buttons here, this one is definitely more tactile. This is more spongier. I personally don't kind of like mind, the PowerA Spectra. Like, it feels fine, but I do want to say like this is definitely more tactile for sure. Same thing with like the D-pad and the, these buttons and the home buttons. So this is a lot more like you gotta really push it, and the thumbsticks, so it definitely uses like a different plastic. Matter of fact, you could still see like the thumbstick rubber still there, while on my Xbox One controller, yeah, it's been used and abused for 5 years. Not the best condition, and it definitely feels like really soft, while this one, it still kind of feels like, I guess, firm, for the lack of a better word. Like, it still feels really good, if that makes any sense. And of course, one of the main reasons why I got this controller are like the two back buttons here, and they're still pretty much mapped the same for like every game I use. I use the, what was this? This is my left, yeah, my left button for Y, and my right button is for A. And yeah, the stock Xbox One controller doesn't have that. And let me tell you something. Since this is actually my very first time using like a controller with like any sort of command inputs behind like the controller, like I could totally understand why some people cannot go back to like the stock Xbox controller, or like the stock PlayStation 4 controllers or something like that. Like, these things are just absolutely amazing, especially once you really learn how to like comfortably like once you know how to like really find your comfort zone in using like those back buttons. It's so game changing, especially for like multiplayer games. Like in Call of Duty, my god, doing like those jump shots, like I totally feel like a lot more comfortable doing it without like needing to like claw grip and all that stuff. Alright, so I think that's kind of like the, oh wait, I almost forgot. I definitely need to talk about like the headset thing here. So for like the regular Xbox One controller, if you have like the stock like standard Microsoft official headsets, it only works on the regular controller here. While for this one, you have to get like like any like real gaming headset, basically anything with like a 3.5 what do you call it, like those 3.5 like mm support type of thing. But for this one, yeah, this controller supports both, like for any like gaming headsets that you prefer to use, and the standard Microsoft official mic mic thingy or whatever you call them. I forgot like the official names and stuff. But yeah, so this one, you are gonna have to like consider that in terms of like your purchasing and stuff. And another big thing is like this controller is only wired, while this controller, it's completely wireless. But it is, what is it? I just kind of like recently learned this today, but you can actually play this controller with like a wired setup if you have like the, what do you call it, the micro USB cable, and it actually doesn't need any like batteries. You just kind of like plug it in and you could basically treat this like a wired controller. I'm not really sure if if that thing does kind of like damage like the components inside, but that is something I just kind of recently learned, and that is something I never knew for like the longest time while using my Xbox One controller for like 5 years or 6 years if you counted my very first Xbox One controller that came with my console. And I will say this here, when it comes to like the headset type of thing, the Xbox One controller does feel like a lot better, because I do notice there is like some white noise when I use the PowerA Spectra, and the audio is definitely not as loud compared to this one. I do want to say like this is like a Gen 2 Xbox One controller model, so I'm not really sure if like the newer models are actually like if Microsoft actually kind of like changed like the headset internal parts and all that stuff. I'm not sure if it's like actually louder or softer and all that stuff, but for this controller it's definitely a lot louder compared to like this one. This one I'll probably say like it's at least maybe like 25 to 30% softer. So like if you're playing like Call of Duty and you got like your headset like completely cranked up, this is going to be way louder, and you could totally like hear footsteps a lot better compared to this one here. So yeah, and like I said, there is like some white noise here. If you really like turn up like your headset, you can totally hear it. But I will say this here, when you're playing the game, I don't really notice it at all. Like when I play Doom Eternal or like Doom 2016, lots of like chaos going on in like the fights, and then you got like the heavy metal music. I generally don't even notice like the white noise. But if I pause the menu and kind of like do nothing, you could totally hear like the white noise. And I think that should be enough for like my compare and contrast section for these two controllers here. So yeah, like the bumpers here, definitely a bit different compared to like the PowerA Spectra, and they also kind of sound different. Oh yeah, the triggers on the PowerA Spectra is definitely like thinner. It's more lightweight. This one definitely got more attention. And I think that should be it here. So I guess I'll move on to like the overall durability and wear and tear on these two controllers. So let's start off with my stock controller. So I've used this for 5 years here, and I'm gonna be honest here, I've actually have no like real problems with this controller, other than like sometimes like if I don't like use the controller a while and I don't like start using the triggers, they do get a little bit sticky, but once you kind of like start doing like this, the stickiness is completely gone. And the only real problem with this controller is like my battery. As you can see, there's like a little bit of scratch right there. My battery pack is like super hard to like pull out for some reason. I have to like use my fingernails to actually like yank it out to get my rechargeable battery inside. But what is it? That's another good thing about that is like I do have a play and charge kit, so I don't really have to like constantly open the battery pack. So all I just need is like a micro USB cable, and it just completely charges up like the stock Xbox One controller, and I'm pretty much good to go. And yes, like the thumbsticks, they definitely took a lot of abuse from all like the chemicals and the sweat from my thumbs. And there's absolutely no more resistance on these thumbsticks here. They're pretty much, completely used up. Like I said, 5 years old, man. It's really, like, heavily used. But for 5 years, man, this controller, like, it treated me so well. Like, compared to my first controller, look what happened to my first controller. I remember like maybe around 6 or 7 months in, the left thumbstick was starting to kind of like become a problem. Basically, I was playing Master Chief Collection online, and then I would like move, and Master Chief, like, he would just kind of move at like 20% speed, and then all of a sudden he gets like a, you know, instant speed boost. Like, I don't know what do you call that issue, but it was really annoying. I did kind of like solve the problem by just gently clicking like the left stick, and then Master Chief would kind of like, you know, move at full speed. So I found a temporary fix, but eventually it got worse. That didn't work. And then when I started like moving, like, you know, at a certain direction, my character was like moving in like quicksand. And that's where I knew I had to like open up the controller. And let me tell you something, opening these Xbox One controllers is such, I don't want to say it's a nightmare, but these, like, what is it? This part right here is just so tedious. It always feels like I'm going to break it when I try to open them up. I tried opening it up, and I tried, like, you know, tinkering with it. I did kind of fix it temporarily for like maybe 1 or 2 months, and then eventually the issue came back, and then I tried to fix it again, and then my controller pretty much started to malfunction. And that's where my first Xbox One controller pretty much died on me in less than a year. And this is where my second replacement came to place, and I got it like at GameStop. And yeah, you know, this guy, I have had no problems with it for 5 years. And I don't know, maybe like I'm lucky, because I'm not really sure like the overall like what is it, like the overall experience on people's like, you know, people's experience with the stock Xbox One controller. But I've had this for 5 years, and it's treated me real well. I've always heard like people saying like the bumpers were like the thing that's most likely to break from, like, you know, the standard Xbox One controller. I will say this here, it is a bit like, it does kind of feel loose compared to what it used to be, but I've used the bumpers like crazy in a lot of my games here. Like, you know, in Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal, this is my jump button, and I've also make maps for Doom 2016. Bumpers are very important for aligning textures, aligning objects. Yeah, I've used and abused my bumpers, and I've never had any problems with it on the stock Xbox One controller. Alright, now I'm going to talk about my experience with the PowerA Spectra for 5 months here. What is it? For the first month, I didn't really have any problems, but recently, I am starting to, like, you know, notice some issues. But I will say this here, for the most part, like the 5 months that I've been using this controller, and like I said, this has been my primary controller, while this is just kind of like my secondary controller that I play here and there, and, you know, I play for sentimental values. But this is the one that I've been mostly using a lot for like the past 5 months. And yeah, everything has been really good lately, like no stick drift. The buttons are, what is it, there's none of that like double tap D-pad issues. The buttons are extremely responsive, extremely clicky. Same thing with the thumbsticks. The thumbsticks, by the way, I will say this here, like they feel extremely smooth, even like after using it for 5 months here. And my left thumbstick definitely gotten looser, but it still feels really nice. And same thing with my right thumbstick. It has gotten a little bit looser compared to like my 1 month usage video of this controller. So yeah, everything else has been really like good on this controller. Now, the only real problem or real red flag I kind of notice is like the triggers here. Sometimes they do kind of, I don't know if you guys can hear it. Sometimes both of these triggers do kind of get a little squeaky, and it's been like that for like maybe like the past, I don't know, few months or so. And I didn't notice anything wrong with the gameplay, but recently, sometimes when I kind of like hold down the left trigger, it kind of like activates my right trigger randomly at times. I've actually had that while playing Doom Eternal. Like, I was playing one of like the DLC levels, and I was just kind of like messing around, and then there was a situation where I needed to pull out my chain gun shield to like move around the map, and when I did that, my chain gun started shooting randomly, and I was like, what the? I'm not shooting the right trigger. So that totally caught me off guard, and eventually I kind of did some testing, and I can't really seem to like replicate it. Like, I think like, I don't really know like why it's doing that. Like, it was like a pretty intense encounter. Like, I did like I had the vibration on, and so I think maybe it might be like the vibration that's causing this issue. And by the way, this controller does have a lot, like it has a lot stronger vibration compared to this one. I forgot to mention that. But yeah, you know, I was kind of like just holding like the left trigger, and then all of a sudden it kind of like actuates my right trigger a little bit, and eventually I haven't really been able to like replicate that. So that is something that is a bit of a red flag for sure, and it is something that I'm not really sure if it's gonna get worse in like the next 5 months, or maybe like the next 8 months or so. But that is definitely a bit of a shame. But I will say this though, on like a positive note, like it's extremely rare. Like I said, I haven't been able to like replicate that thing, so I don't know, man. The only way I could really find out is just basically just play with this controller and just kind of like go no life mode and just try to like, do my analysis on that type of thing. But I did say in like my PowerA Spectra, review video, like this controller does come in with like a two-year warranty, so if it does go bad, I will probably have to pop that warranty eventually. Alright, so let's just get into the conclusion. Out of these two controllers, which one do I personally recommend? Well, I think it's safe to say like this controller probably is the one that's most likely going to work really well. I mean, yes, everyone has like different experiences and all of that stuff, but the fact that I've had this for like 5 years and like no real like problems with it, I think this probably just tells you like this one might be like the better controller for the durability situations. But at the same time, you are kind of like missing out all like the cool stuff that this one has, like the back buttons. And I do love like the stick tension too. Like I love how this one does got like more resistance compared to this controller. And I know like some people don't like wired controllers, and I totally understand why, because like if you're playing like on your TV and it's super like far away, yeah, you need to go like wireless. But this controller, like, even though I do have like a little bit of an issue lately with like that whole trigger malfunctioning thing that I mentioned, I think this controller is still like probably the better controller overall compared to the stock controller. It's just like this controller just seems to have like a lot more stuff that caters to like the more serious and hardcore gamer. And like I said, man, for a wired controller where you don't have to deal with like batteries and all that stuff, and these two back buttons that are amazing. I love the grip right here. Oh yeah, like could you actually see? There it is. Like that's all like my sweat marks from my left palm when I play this controller. And yeah, I do love this soft plastic grip, really nice. Love the stick tension, and yeah, like the lightweight triggers is really amazing for shooters. I love like the bumpers. Like I really think this controller is really like the superior way if you really want to be like serious for your gaming for just only $40 compared to this guy where it's like a $60 purchase, or you could get it for cheaper if you buy it used and all that stuff. But overall, I think like like I said, personally I do prefer this one over this controller. But I do think like there's still like purpose for this for like the stock Xbox One controller for sure. Like I do know like the newer the newer Xbox One controller, and I think like the Xbox Series X and S controllers, like they do have Bluetooth support. So if you want to like play it on like your your Android device, you could totally do it with this controller. While I don't think you can do it with this one. And like I said, this is a wireless controller. This is completely wired only. So if you can't deal with wired controllers, you pretty much have to go with this guy here. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I'm not gonna try to like make this video too long, because holy crap, it's almost 20 minutes, and I actually did not want to make this video be 20 minutes long, but there's just kind of like so much to talk about. So yeah, thank you for watching like my comparison video between my stock Xbox One controller and my not Series X controller, my PowerA Spectra Enhanced controller. I don't know if I'll probably do like another update video like on this controller. Like maybe I'll probably do like a 10-month update, or maybe like a 1-year update, just to kind of like show people like how this controller has treated me for like, you know, all the heavy gaming that I've done. And I will say this, after trying this controller out, I do kind of like want to like eventually invest, like, you know, invest into like a pro controller. Like I want to really get like all the cool stuff, like the 4 back buttons or back paddles or whatever, and all like the custom thumbsticks, all the grips, like all of that good stuff here. And I know some controllers have like, what is it, like the Razer controller, where like these face buttons, they're like mouse clicks. Like that's pretty sick. So yeah, maybe in the future, maybe in like 1 to 2 years later, I might try to like, you know, go for an upgrade, because this controller has definitely made me want to like, you know, get into like the pro controller scene because of these things here. Like it's just so amazing, because I've been using stock controllers for like so long, you know. So yeah. Alright, thank you for watching, guys, and yeah, I don't know if I will be making like another video like this in the future, since I don't normally make these kinds of videos. But thank you for watching, and I hope you found this video informative.